Hey y'all, Maggie here. So I have something I want to talk to y'all about today that got brought up when I was talking to someone a couple days ago, and she mentioned feeling out of control in her personal life. And it wasn't that she was going on a bender or getting a divorce or dropping out of school or anything like that might sound out of control, but she was in a place where she felt like personal habits that were important to her were not in place, and she had to devote so much energy right now to her professional and academic spheres of life that her personal life kind of got pushed to the back burner and neglected. And after a little while of that restructured priority pyramid or whatever, she was suddenly seeing the effects and feeling like, how did I get here and what is wrong with me? And that's a really familiar feeling to me. And I'm kind of there right now in a lot of ways, to be quite honest. But I think it's also a really familiar feeling to humans and basically anybody who's ever had a pulse. So I wanted to talk to y'all about what I was talking about with her, because I think it's really useful information, because there's no way to avoid the hard times and the stressful times and the seasons when we feel like life is chaos, whether that's all of life or just your personal life or, just your professional life or a relationship. There are times when you wake up one day and you look around and you're like, oh my gosh, how the hell did I get here? This is not where I wanted to be, whether it's in terms of waking up and realizing you're in a bunch of debt, or realizing that you just don't feel good in your own skin and you're like, I gained 5 pounds and I'm like not eating as well as I'd like and I'm not enjoying my workouts. Or you wake up and you're like, wow, my relationships all suck balls. And you kind of are in a spot where you realize you want to make a change, but you have to figure out how to make that change, the specific action steps. And then what I specifically want to talk about today is the part where you have to reconcile the fact that you're here right now. You're in the chaos and it's your choices, your actions that got you here. You put yourself in this mess, and that's something that's not fun to reconcile yourself to. It's especially if you're a perfectionist or neurotic like I am, and my friend is too, so two peas in a pod. It's really hard to accept the fact that you're in a place you don't like and that your ability to change it is going to take time. It will take a process. You can't just snap your fingers and bam, all my credit card debt is gone, or my relationships are fixed, or I've got the body I always wanted. You have to work through the process, and first you have to work through the realization that you're not perfect and that you have messed up in some ways, and that can be hard because no one wants to be faced with that reality, really. It's humbling and it's something that we don't like, and that's part of why we manage our self-image so much, whether it's what we're willing to share with friends and what we kind of hide and don't talk about, what we post on Instagram, and Twitter and Facebook, even like what we are saying in prayer time, like when you're praying and you're alone with God. And sometimes it's even hard then to ask for help, because as much as he already knows. There's something about saying things out loud or thinking them personally, saying, hey, I'm human and sometimes I screw up really bad, or I screwed up really bad right now and I got myself here, and like, this is not pretty, this is not cute, this is not good, and it's my fault. That's hard. So what I've learned over the years, and I'm going to be 25 this summer and I'm still learning, so it's a long process, but it's the importance of grace and having grace for yourself. And this is something that I've talked about with friends when I'm kind of, listening to them talk about struggling with this, and I try to share it. And it's hard to apply the same principle to my own life. So trust me, I am preaching to myself as much as I'm sharing this with you. But it's when we're in those situations and kind of faced with our imperfections and the things we don't like about ourselves and situations we don't like that we got ourselves into, you have to have grace for yourself because God already has grace for you. And if the Lord of the universe, who created the earth, who knows how many hairs are on your head, who is the Alpha and Omega, who's, powerful enough to part the Red Sea and give sight to the blind and raise dead men to life, if he knows you, and spoiler alert, he does, and he knows all the flaws that you have and all the ways that you've messed up, and he loved you anyway, and he said, I have grace for you. I don't want you to stay in your brokenness. I want to help you have life to the full. But I love you as you are, and I'm going to come to you, and, live out his ministry and then die on the cross and come back to life for you people who are really screwed up. Then if he can do that, you definitely need to have grace for yourself, because who are we to say we know better or we can hold ourselves to a higher standard than he does? So I don't know if that sounds really theologically out there to you, the idea of having grace for yourself and accepting yourself. So I want to make sure I'm not saying don't strive for excellence. I'm not saying to realize that you're messing up or you are messed up and you're in a situation you don't like and to just accept it. Like, it's good to look at where you are and where you want to be and figure out the action steps to get you from here to here. That's important, and God calls us to excellence, and so that's part of the process. But he also calls us to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with him. That's Micah 6:8 if you want to look it up. And so we have to have the humility to accept his grace, and it's in that grace, in accepting it, accepting not only the fact that we are broken and that we're never going to be enough and that we are messed up and we're capable of messing ourselves up so damn bad, but also accepting that he loves us anyway and that he has provided a way out. He will give us wisdom, and he can give us perseverance, and he can give us endurance for the hard times. And so walking with God, we can get from the mess to the life we want. And if you don't share the same faith, obviously this is not going to make as much sense to you. So if you have questions about my faith or you want to talk about this more, like theology and stuff, let me know. Shoot me an email, write something in the comments. I would love to discuss that. But it's still, even if you're not a person of faith, the idea of having some gentleness and grace for yourself is something that's so important, because we are all human. We are all going to mess up. No one's perfect except Christ. And you can't get from where you are to where you want to be by being angry at yourself. That's not going to take you anywhere. Instead of propelling you forward, that effort's just going to dig you into a hole, and you're just going to get deeper and deeper into your mess. But if you have grace for yourself and allow yourself to kind of step back from the brokenness and see, okay, yes, I am messy and chaotic and things are out of control, but that's okay, and it's going to get better. When you have grace for yourself, you're able to have hope for the future and to look at things without this sense of needing to fix it so frantically. So there's grace. It's okay. You're not perfect, and that's fine. No one's expecting perfection. And even if you're not striving for perfection but excellence and still falling short, that's fine. No, God is not surprised by your failures. So have grace for yourself. Accept that God has grace for you and that you can't hold yourself to a higher standard than he does, and you cannot give yourself more grace. You cannot deem yourself more or less worthy of grace than he has already said. So he said you get grace. So you have it. Accept it. Embrace it and remind yourself of it. Continue to give yourself grace. And then with that grace, with that refreshment, look at your situation and consider what you want to change and how to get there, and have grace for yourself in the process. Remember that it's not going to change overnight. You can't pay off credit card debt in one day unless you inherit a crap ton of money or something, which isn't the case for most of us. And you can't change other aspects of your life in one day, but you can create habits. And one of those habits, whatever you're trying to change, no matter how many things you need to change, make sure that one of the habits you start implementing is giving yourself grace and reminding yourself where that grace first comes from, and that you're able to, I don't like the word self-love because it makes me feel like Oprah when I say it, and I think it has a lot of connotations that I don't agree with, but give yourself love and grace when you're in the middle of chaos and feeling overwhelmed, because the God who made the heavens says he has grace and love for you. And if he can give you that grace, then I think you sure as hell can give it to yourself. So, that's all I have for y'all today. Just a little sharing. I don't think I've talked that much about my faith before in any vlogs, or a little bit in written blogs. So anyway, if you have any comments, or if you have thoughts on the idea of grace, or life being overwhelming, or any of the stuff that I talked about, I would love to continue the discussion with you below in the comments. Or you can send me an email or tweet me. My Twitter handle is MaggieGetsReal, and my email is MaggieGetsReal@gmail.com. So if you have questions you're not comfortable discussing in the comments, feel free to hit my inbox. Anyway, thanks for listening. Y'all are the best. Take it easy and have grace for yourself.